Hello, happy Friday.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Relocation Rundown with Aaron and Geoff.
Woo!
Today, we are going to be talking about the great state of Idaho with our friend Rachel from Boise. I'm excited because I don't know really anything about Idaho.
I've never been to Idaho.
Hi, Rachel.
Hey, there she
Hi.
is.
How are you
How are
guys?
you?
We're good. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me on.
Yes,
Thanks for joining us.
thanks for being here. Could you tell everyone what your name is, where you're from, and what you do?
Yeah. My name is Rachel Hausman Masse. I am from Chicago, and I moved to Idaho with my family here, during the pandemic. And we've been here. We bought our house here 4 years ago almost. And I was one of the first agents to join from Compass here. And it's been an amazing opportunity and great experience. And we absolutely love Boise. We've been coming here, or we had been coming here for like the last 7 years. When my oldest was a baby, my sister moved out here. We wanted to come visit. We had never heard of Idaho. We'd never been to Idaho. And it's just been like the best place. I tell people it's like stuck in time.
Yeah.
You have like a small town vibe. It's very community focused, and it's just been great.
That's so fun. So you're from Chicago, and your sister moved to Idaho. Well, what inspired your sister to move to Idaho?
So my sister, her husband is also a buff. We both went to CU in Boulder,
Oh,
and
okay.
they met in Atlanta. She was working for Forbes, and then they did a road trip out here to visit his college friend who lived in Sun Valley. And Sun Valley is kind of like the Vale. It's like hidden because not as many people come out to it as like, the fancier resorts across the US. It's kind of like a hidden gem. But like, Bruce Willis and Demi Moore, like they've been coming here for years, and it's just a cool place because it's very low key but very nice. And so my sister stopped overnight here on a road trip out to Sun Valley, and they fell in love with Boise. And they're like, "We're moving to Idaho." And we're like, "What?"
Do you think they were crazy?
Oh, I think your sound went out. Or maybe it's us.
Well, this place is really cool. It's not like the Rockies where you have like these dramatic, huge mountains like in your face, like, living in Boulder, you have the Flatirons.
Right.
Here you're in the foothills, which is almost even cooler because like I can see them out my window right now, and it's just like a very serene place. You can get lost real fast. Like you go for a hike and there's really no one there, and it's just such a peaceful place to live.
That's so cool.
So
Yeah.
tell us a little. I mean, this whole show is about relocation. And
Yeah.
so, as somebody who just went from a real urban center to something that maybe doesn't feel like an urban center.
I mean, a real urban center. It's one of the biggest cities in the United States.
Right. So what was that like for you, the transition in lifestyle and the physical transition from one place to another?
So I grew up in the suburbs of Chicago. And I'm still on a team there with my mom. She's been in the business since 1979, and we were like the number one team, or we're the bigger selling team in that suburb. And I grew up there. I went to school in Colorado, came back to help my mom. This is in '09 during the recession. Did a lot of distressed properties, did a lot of technology changes then. I mean, that's when blogging came out, so it was a big shift at that time. And so I worked there for like 12 years. And, I sold all the people I knew growing up, their parents' houses, helped a lot of first-time buyers there. But Vince and I, we really, really wanted a community, and we wanted our kids to grow up outdoors more. The weather in Chicago isn't awesome. The summer is great, except it gets really humid. The fall is beautiful, but it's very short. And the winters are long and cold. And Idaho's this misconception of like potatoes. And when we came out every season because we're like, we gotta check this out. And like the winters don't get that cold. Nobody needs a shovel here in the snow because it melts by the middle of the day in a couple hours. You only get 18 inches of precipitation a year, so it's very dry. The summers get hot. It's normally you only have a couple weeks of 100 plus, but the last few years with, who knows, global warming or whatever, it's gotten pretty hot. But you go up to the mountains for the weekend, go camping. Our kids love going camping. They love playing in the river and fishing, and there's just skiing here. We just really wanted to be more outside. I can ride my kid to school on my e-bike like 10 months of the year.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's pretty cool. Like it's like I said, it's kind of like stuck in that time zone of like all these kids walk home from school alone. I mean, it's like foreign to me. Whereas like I grew up 2 blocks from my school in the suburbs of Chicago, but you couldn't walk to school because the weather was awful. So
Right. We're
I
big
think the
campers.
relocation.
That sounds like fun to us. Maybe we got to come out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding. The relocation site's really cool because during the pandemic, I think every year over 10,000 families just from California came the last 3 years. Projected this year, they said 15,000 from California will be here. The market here from 2010 to now has gone up 250% in value. So
Okay.
it used to be really inexpensive to live here, and now like the median price range is 550. So it's across these big cities, it's still pretty affordable to live here compared to Chicago, New York, California. Our
For
taxes here,
550, what are you getting for 550? Are you getting like a 3-bedroom house? Or are you getting a 5-bedroom? Or are you getting an apartment?
Townhouse. What do you
so
got?
it depends on what part of town you live in. If you're going to live in the North End, which is more of like the historic center of Boise, you're paying like over $300 per square foot there. Then in other areas, you're like $240 a square foot. And then, further out, away from town, it could be under 200 for new construction. It just depends on how far away you are from the city center. But you can get a brand new 3-bedroom or 4-bedroom single family house, brand new, like you could buy it tomorrow for 450 outside the city. And the taxes are less than 1%. So
Now, when you say outside the city, like we live in New York City, so the city center for us is Midtown Manhattan.
yeah.
And that for us is like 45 minutes by train, or like on a good day, maybe 20 minutes. Like how far out is
20
that kind of?
minutes.
Yeah. Okay.
Like, there's no traffic here really. Like
Right.
there's more traffic in Meridian Eagle area, but like rush hour 40 minutes.
Okay.
Like no traffic, you can be downtown in 15 minutes. I live like 10 minutes from the city, and our house is like a 3-2 and 3-2 and a half, 2,000 square feet, and it's probably worth like 6 something, but it's because we're 10 minutes away.
Okay.
Whereas if like my sister's in Hyde Park area, like the North End, and like her house, my same house, but over by her would be, instead of 6, it's 750 or 7, just because you're in the North End, like the North Shore sort of situation.
Now, is the majority of the housing stock that you guys have single family homes, or do you have apartment condos and things like that as well?
Mostly single family. There's not too many condo buildings that are that are not rentals. There's a huge increase in development here for rental apartment buildings. There are quite a few that have popped up the last few years, mostly because there's a huge lack of student housing. And we have Boise State University here,
Okay.
and they don't have much student housing. So a lot of the students have to rent in these apartment buildings or single family homes. The rent here per bedroom is usually around like 900 to 1,000 per room. But like a 3-2 rental house would probably be like, I mean, we rented our house up before we lived in it. It was like $2,500 a month.
That's not bad.
No, especially when like,
compared to New York
back
State.
when, yeah, like back when rates were really good, like you were still making like $1,000 a month profit off of a rental property. Now you're kind of breaking even, but our appreciation every year has gone up like 10 to 15%. The market did drop last May to now probably 10%, but it's still projected to go up because there's lack of inventory.
Yeah.
What's the job market like there? Like, what's really bringing people to Idaho besides
The outdoors.
activities? Yeah.
Sure. So we have HP here. We have Micron here, which does the semiconductors. They just got a huge expansion from the government to build another facility. The Meta building is here. So there's a big project in CUNA coming up. They said there's over 2,000 tech jobs coming here this year. And then there's a lot of manufacturing here in Nampa and CUNA. Just to move, a lot of people, like when our mover moved us here, he's like, I moved over 50 families from just one company because the cost of living is so much less than like Seattle and, out east. So like I have friends that are in the ag business. Simplot is here. They're like the largest producer of fries for McDonald's.
Okay.
And Albertson's headquarters is here, which is like a huge partnership with Kroger. So there's some big businesses here for sure. It's pretty mixed though, because, if you look online, it'll say, like the average wage here for cost of living is very skewed. But a lot of people live here, work remotely.
Yeah.
So, it'll continue to go up.
Now,
but
I've heard that Jackson Hole, Wyoming is a big draw for the people in Boise as well. Are you seeing that as a major impact in your real estate market?
Yes, so Jackson Hole is only a 5-hour drive from us. And just over the other side of the mountain is Driggs, which is a huge up and coming city. If you want a ski home with Teton views, you're right near, the other mountains to ski at. And I mean, we've talked about building there, investing there, just because there's nowhere left to build in Jackson Hole. And they've talked about, expanding over the mountain into the Driggs area, but there's a lot of pushback with, wildlife conservation.
Yeah.
Like in Sun Valley, you can't build on the hill, like, cause it's protected, for views and things like that. And, backcountry skiing and things. So, Jackson Hole is a huge pull here. But you can do it a lot more affordably in Driggs, which is huge. And we do have a Compass office in Driggs.
Okay.
It's funny that you say Jackson Hole is such a big draw for Boise, because I feel like 5 hours away that's far. Right?
Yeah, like I don't know, for Driggs, for us it's like 4, but like you're in the Tetons, it's so beautiful. And here we also go to Stanley, Idaho, which is, they wanted to make it a national park, and Idaho said no because they wanted to keep it quiet,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's there's no cell service there except when you're in town. So don't list a house and then disappear to Stanley. I've done that. But it's so fun. Like, it's like going to, what is it in New York? The Catskills, like summer camp weekend. Like, it's so fun. So we love it. And that's 2 hours.
So as somebody who's worked in real estate in 2 different markets, what are some of the biggest quirks or differences that you're seeing in Boise and Idaho that you didn't have when you were working in Chicago?
Yeah, like here in New York, we have co-ops, and nobody really has co-ops, except there's one in Chicago that I've heard of, that big pink building that I forgot the name of.
Yeah,
We're also in a market where we need attorneys on every
Yeah.
transaction. So there's
So in Illinois, you do too. And in Evanston, they have a lot of co-ops. My aunt had a co-op in Evanston, and like, it is more complicated. Here, it's a lot easier here. The transactions, people here are a lot more kind to deal with. Everyone's very, it's a very different vibe. Very different vibe negotiating here than in Chicago. And so I love it. Like everyone is so appreciative and sweet and kind and just like it's very different. Like I don't know, I got like one of my first closings here, someone brought me a gift. I'm like, what? It was so nice. I'm like, this is so nice. You know.
Wow, maybe we have to move.
Yeah. Right. Are you building a team?
Someday.
So what did you expect moving to Idaho, and what did you find when you got there and started actually living there?
You know, I think what I expected, I don't really have, I just had some goals when I came here. Like, you know, it's very different starting over, like starting your life over. It's kind of scary, you know. I think for me, like I went from selling 150 homes a year to not having that yet, you know. And so for me, I was like, oh, okay. You know, you have to like remember your confidence and like that you are really experienced. And so I've kind of used that in some of my success stories with agents that I've negotiated offers on. And I'm like, look, I'm really experienced. You know, I promise you, I'm not bringing you somebody who's going to flake out or, you know, not get this closed. Like I write a contract in earnest, you know?
Yeah.
And same thing from the seller side, like Geoff, you were so kind to refer a seller to me. And I think just sharing with them that like my experience in negotiating and also with the presentation of the home. And because people here just, there's no barrier to entry here and there's no level of professionalism here. It's very different than what I'm used to. And so like just having that experience, I feel like sets me apart from a lot of people. And I think it's really an asset to have for our clients here. Like when some of your questions, I wrote down like a success story. I had a client who's a good friend of mine, and they really wanted this new construction house. And this other person, like, you know, jumped in. They were traveling, so they didn't get it right away. But I kept in touch with the agent like constantly. I'm like, look, if they are at all wavering, like we're ready, like give us a chance.
Yeah.
And like sure enough, like a few days later, he was like, look, we don't want to deal with these people. Like you've got it if you want it. And I'm like,
Great.
Awesome.
Nice.
And then like I beat out a cash offer this week, and it was the same thing, like just advocating. You can't just forward an offer. Like
Absolutely.
you can't like, and I've had that a couple of times where they're like, oh, this other offer came in, but the agent didn't even call me. I'm like, okay.
We talk about very frequently with our clients here too, that the agent to agent relationships can sometimes be the difference between getting a deal done or not. Because when they know that we're on the other side, they have faith because they've worked with us in the past in this area that we're going to be on top of the game, on top of our client, you know, communicative, etc. And they know that because they've done it with us versus another offer that could be similar, but they don't know if the agent is really going to be able to shepherd the client.
Totally.
I'm glad you brought up the deal that we referred to you because I wanted to kind of bring it up because I think that's a real success story in and of itself.
I mean, you got the thing under contract in how long? How many days?
Like 24 hours.
Like, I mean, it's insane.
And it went above asking price as well.
Yeah, so they had another agent tell them a lower price to list it at, and I was like, look, I think anything under 550 we should try, you know. So we did like 545, and we ended up selling it over that. So I feel like we didn't leave money on the table, but you know, I gave him my seller prep checklist. I gave him my stager, and I went over there and brought my own staging stuff because he ended up doing such a beautiful job getting it ready. We really didn't need anything, you know, from a stager, and just, you know, having like coffee and bagels and, you know, appropriate sign-in sheet. I sent out a mailer the week before saying, we have a big open house in your neighborhood, come pop by. And like so many neighbors came. I've never seen that many people at an open house before, like in my life.
Wow.
And so I was like, this is great because it creates that urgency. And I think the biggest thing that I'm trying to promote here is the lifestyle. Like this house will give you XYZ lifestyle, right? And that's the thing about Boise is you can live on the Boise River and have the river lifestyle, bike everywhere on the greenbelt. You can live in the foothills. You can have horse property. You can go live out on a homestead farm. You can go live in the mountains. Like every lifestyle has a different vibe, and you know, there's like more hipster area, and like it's so cool here. Like I love the different sections because it just leads to so many different lifestyle experiences. And like for me, I can walk to the foothills in 10 minutes. I can walk to a brewery 2 blocks away that just opened. I could walk my daughter to school. I could walk to the Greenbelt. And so we were really lucky with like, you know, we like to be central, and like we love it. So I think that all those things play into how you market your listing and like how you're going to attract like you know, as many people as you can.
I think I learned a lot about Boise and Idaho in general today.
Yeah, more than just potatoes.
More than just potatoes. That's the tagline for this episode. Rachel, thank you so much for joining us. Do you want to, as a quick sign-off, give us one more time where people can find and contact you, follow you, who you are, what you do, one more time?
Yeah,
and if you have any fun coming up.
Yeah.
So I'm Rachel Houseman Masse with House Boutique Real Estate here in Boise. And then I have my team, the Houseman team in the suburbs of Buffalo Grove, Chicago area. You can find me on Rachel Sells Boise or Rachel Sells the Suburbs. And I love sharing everything I can about this area. Love helping people find investment properties, first-time home buyers, sellers, whatever you need. I'm also trying to do more land and ranch, horse property. So if you want to live like that equestrian dream, you know, let me know.
You're scared of horses.
Yeah, I am.
They're big. They're like big dogs. But yeah, I'd love to chat with anybody if you have any questions. It's a great place to live. Please come visit. We love to host, and I'm happy to show you all around.
We're coming to see you.
Yeah, we'll be there next week.
Okay.
Thanks so much, Rachel.
Thank
you.
I'm Geoff.
And I'm Aaron.
And we're the Aaron and Geoff team at Compass, selling the Bronx. And this has been the Relocation Rundown. Thank you guys so much for joining us. And we'll see you next week with Joe Biscaja in Miami. So tune in.
Bye.
Thanks, Rachel.
Bye.
Bye.